and welcome to our Facebook Live concert here from the Dorset Church in Dorset, Vermont. I have a special guest today, Maloney on the banjo. I am just impersonating a banjo player. Hopefully I won't get arrested for attempted banjo. What I am capable on the banjo is strumming, and that actually frees Ellen up to do some more adventurous fingerstyle picking, and so that's my role here tonight, is to just sort of be a wash of banjo-ish kind of sound. We have a number of songs sort of celebrating Earth Day, also sort of celebrating community as well, because part of taking care of the earth is taking care of your community, and things like Green Up Day coming up the next Saturday, where we all go around and pick up garbage and try to make Vermont look a little bit more green, as if it wasn't green enough, you know? Except this white stuff that's been coming down.
Yeah.
Who wants that anyway? All right. I think I'm doing this next one with guitar. The Blue Ridge Mountain Blues is what we're doing next. And this is a John Fogerty, Earl Scruggs song.
Okay. You're gonna do some of the repeats, right? Young in my prime, my prime, I left my home in Carolina. Now all I do is sit and pine for all the folks I left behind. I got the Blue Ridge Mountain Blues, and I said right here to say, like the best friend and I'm gonna ramble in my Blue Ridge far away. I'm gonna sing right by my papa, I'm gonna do right by my mama, gonna hang around the cabin door, don't worry anymore. I got the Blue Ridge Mountain Blues, gonna see my old oak tree. The blossom where the corn got blossom in my Blue Ridge far away. I see a piece of snowy white, I see a window with light, I see the red and side, where is my wonderful boy tonight? Look at the Blue Ridge Mountain Blues, and I said right here to say, every day I come till I climb that mountain in my Blue Ridge far away. I got the Blue Ridge Mountain Blues, and I said right here to say, every day I come till I climb that mountain in the Blue Ridge far away, in my Blue Ridge far away.
All right. Actually, a friend of mine is in the Blue Ridge Mountains as we speak. My friend Ben Ross is just saw some pictures on Facebook from the Blue Ridge Parkway, and he's doing some hiking up there. So that seems like a lot of fun. Actually, I think Richard Grip is in the somewhere in that general vicinity as well. So shout out to a couple of
Yeah.
friends and church members.
Yeah. Nancy Facey has a couple of grandchildren or grandchild friends that
Oh, nice.
are hiking too.
Okay, so our next song, I'm going to talk a little bit about the composer here. We're going to sing a John Denver tune, Take Me Home Country Roads. And John Denver kind of almost needs no introduction in those circles. He was pretty well known. But I'll tell you a few things about John Denver you didn't know before. If I can find where I printed them out anyway. Okay, so where was the beginning of this one? The most interesting thing about John Denver is what his name actually was. Henry John Deutschendorf Jr., known professionally as John Denver. American singer-songwriter, record producer, actor, activist, humanitarian, and had his greatest commercial success as a solo singer. After traveling and living in numerous locations while growing up in his military family, John Denver began his music career with folk music groups during the late 1960s, and starting in the 70s, he was one of the most popular acoustic artists of the decade and one of its best-selling artists. By 1974, he was one of America's best-selling performers, and All Music has called John Denver among the most beloved entertainers of his era.
I like him a lot.
I like him a lot too. I wish my voice sounded as sweet and pure as his does, but it does not. What you get is what you get.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, life is so
Older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories scattered round her. Miner's lady, stranger to the water. Dark and dusty, painted on the sky. Misty taste of moonshine, teardrop in my eye. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country roads, I hear a voice in the morning hours. She calls me. Radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get the feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday, take me home. Country roads, to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country roads, take me home. Country roads, to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country roads, take me home. Down country roads. All right, so that's a little John Denver for you.
some trouble with that one.
It actually has like some chords besides just the three.
Yeah, right.
Just a couple ones in there that kind of caught me a little bit off guard. So our next song is Wildwood Flower, and this is sung by the Carter family. Tell you a little bit about the Carter family here while Ellen is retooling herself for, or even the same key for this next one, so I don't have to talk quite so much.
Young and A.
The Carter family is a traditional American folk music group that recorded between 1927 and 1956. Believe it or not, people did do recordings way back in 1927. Their music had a profound impact on bluegrass, country, southern gospel, and pop and rock musicians as well, and on the U.S. folk revival of the 1960s. So they're famous for some songs like Wabash Cannonball, Can the Circle Be Unbroken, Wildwood Flower, Keep on the Sunny Side, and I'm thinking tonight of My Blue Eyes. So,
Oh, did they write that?
yeah,
I
they
didn't
did
know
too.
that.
Yeah. All right, so here's Wildwood Flower.
Okay. I will twine with my mingles of raven white hair, the roses so red and the lilies so fair, the myrtle so bright in the emerald dew, the pale and clear and eyes oh so blue. I will dance, I will sing, and my life shall be gay.
got pale because of a late spring snow like we've been having. My poor daffodils, they all just kind of went, I don't like this quite so much.
Yeah, the magnolias look like wads of wet tissue.
Yeah, they are not happy looking magnolias. Okay, I just realized I did not bring my capo.
You need extra cape? I have
No, I have it. I just didn't have it at the ready here, so now I do. So this next song is called the Garden Song, but I always knew it as Inch by Inch, and because that's the part that keeps getting sung over and over again. And it was written by a gentleman by the name of David Mallet, a little bit more contemporary. He was born in 1951. He's an American singer-songwriter, best known for the Garden Song. He was a resident of Maine for most of his life, and in the 1980s, David Mallet relocated to Nashville and released 2 albums with the folk and blues label Vanguard. He since moved back to Maine, which was probably a smart thing to do. He actually wrote this song, the Garden Song, when he was in his early 20s. He had been listening to the radio when he went to help his father plant the garden at his homestead in Maine. And with the music in my head and work in his hands, the first verse came to him while he was planting. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. I had a similar experience, actually. I was working on a farm at one point, and that day the job was to combine a big pile of rotted hay that got rained on and was never baled up, and a big pile of manure. And so we were trying to make a giant compost pile with
good
this.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and it's really good stuff. And so while I was on this pile of manure and pitchforking things hither and yon, the song came to me. On top of manure, all covered with hay, they say it flows downhill and paychecks Friday. It goes on, and I will not grace you with that tonight.
You breathed in too much of it.
Clearly I did. My boss at the time said, you got way too much time on your hands. Okay, I can do bigger stuff than this. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden. All it takes is a rainbow and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, please bless these seeds I sow. Someone warn them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Pulling weeds and picking stones, we are made of dreams and bones. Feel the need to grow my own, 'cause the time is close at hand. Grain for grain, sun and rain, find my way in nature's chain. To my body and my brain, to the music of the land. Plant your rows straight and long, temper them with prayer and song. Mother Earth will make you strong if you give her loving care. Little crow watching hungrily from his perch in yonder tree. In my garden I'm as free as the feather keep up there. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. Someone warn them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. All right. Always brings back memories of the Newport Folk Festival back in the 80s, where I saw David Mallet perform this very song.
Did you? Wow.
Yep. I also saw Arlo Guthrie, and every performer in this whole folk festival was given 20 minutes. And Arlo Guthrie said, well, that's about one song for me, and he proceeded to do Alice's
That's
Restaurant.
right, that's about 4 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next song I alluded to earlier, Keep on the Sunny Side, a Carter family favorite here. And look up a different version of this. Keep my banjo player happy.
It doesn't matter.
No, that's fine.
It's just the,
And I
it's
think,
just the switch of verses.
okay, we're back in C, right?
Yes, mostly. Anyway.
Mostly in C, anyway. This was actually also covered by Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash sang this song as well. This Carter family were the original song.
Yeah. There's a dark and the trouble side of life. There's a bright and a sunny side too. Don't believe in the darkness and strife. The sunny side we also need you. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day and we'll brighten all the way. Keep on the sunny side of love. The storm and its fury will fade. Crushing hopes we cherish so dear. Sorry doubts as we time pass away. The sun will light us again. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. Keep on the sunny side of life. Let us breathe with the song of hope each day. Though the moment be cloudy or fair, let us trust in our Savior always. Keep with everyone who is there. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. If we keep on the sunny side of life. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. If we keep on the sunny side of life. If we keep on the sunny side of life. Sorry about that.
Real easy to start the song, it's harder to end the song.
Yeah, well, we got that.
All right, so
This is C as well, so.
this next one has got all sorts of people's names on it. Will the Circle Be Unbroken was a Carter family tune. And then this is an arrangement that also segues right into Daddy Sang Bass, which is a Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, and the Statler Brothers all kind of put their own spins on that, and we're about to spin it away ourselves.
Yeah, Johnny Cash wrote it though, didn't
He in this particular version, he's the first name on there, so that generally means that they wrote. I think he wrote the Daddy Sang Bass part.
he? For
You
himself.
would think, right? The Man in Black,
Yeah,
he did
yeah.
with a deep bass voice. Yeah, he probably did write the Daddy Sang Bass.
Yeah.
He probably sang it even a little lower than we're going to sing it right now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll start with Will the Circle Be Unbroken, right? Where it's key of C, right?
Be unbroken by and by and by. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. I was standing by my window on a cold and cloudy day,
Like today.
when I saw the birds come rolling.
I'll rejoin them in a song. I'm gonna join the family circle at the throne. No, the circle won't be broken by and by, Lord, by and by. Daddy sang bass,
Mama sang tenor.
me and little brother will join right in there in the sky, Lord, in the sky. I remember afterward, Mama calling all of us. You could hear us sing for a country mile. Now little brother has done gone on, I'll be joining in the song. We'll be together been up yonder in a little while. Daddy sang bass,
Mama sang tenor.
me and little brother will join right in there. Singing seems to help a troubled soul. One of these days, and it won't be long, I'll rejoin them in a song. I'm gonna join the family circle at the throne. The circle won't be broken by and by, but by and by. Daddy sang bass,
Mama sang tenor.
me and little brother will join right in there in the sky, Lord, in the sky. In the sky, Lord, in the sky. Amen.
That's up in the middle of that one too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, so
Yes.
our next one is a Pete Seeger's tune here. I'll talk a little bit about Pete Seeger. Near and dear to my heart, not just because we share a middle name, and
What's that?
Peter,
Oh.
and my dad's name is Peter as well, so that's where I got my middle name anyway. So Pete Seeger, who lived from 1919 to 2014, was an American folk singer and social activist, a fixture on nationwide radio in the 1940s. Pete Seeger also had a string of hit records during the early 1950s as a member of the Weavers, most notably their recording of Leadbelly's Goodnight Irene, which topped the charts for 13 weeks in 1950. Members of the Weavers were blacklisted during the McCarthy era. In the 1960s, Pete Seeger re-emerged on the public scene as a prominent singer of protest music in support of international disarmament, civil rights, counterculture, workers' rights, and environmental causes. A prolific songwriter, his best-known songs include Where Have All the Flowers Gone?, If I Had a Hammer, and Kisses Sweeter Than Wine, and Turn, 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 which have been recorded by many artists, both in and outside the folk revival movement. So there's a little short history of Pete Seeger.
You know, he wrote a song called Garbage too in his about when his boat was on the Hudson River, and the I guess it was the trash there. But he wrote a whole long song about garbage.
Yeah, he was really interested in the cleanup of the Hudson River because I think he had a home on the Hudson River somewhere in upstate New York as well. So that was important. But this is a fun song of Pete Seeger's called "Get Up and Go."
It's a song about getting older but enjoying it.
Right.
How do I know my youth is all spent? I get up and go,
As got up and went, in spite of it all, I'm leaving to grin when I think of the places I get up
has
and
been.
old age is stolen, or so I have said. Sometimes I wonder as I crawl into bed, with my ears in the drawer, my teeth in a cup, my eyes on the table until I wake up. As sleep dims my vision, I say to myself, is there anything else I should lay on the shelf? Though nations are warring and business is vexed, I'll still stick around to see what happens next. How do I know my youth is all spent? I get up and go, as got up and went. In spite of it all, I'm able to grin when I think of the places my get up has been. When I was young, my slippers were red. I'd kick up my heels right over my head. When I was older, my slippers were blue, but still I could dance the whole night through. Now I am older, my slippers are black. through this song, I was reminded of a good friend of mine by the name of Tom Perry, who some of my friends in Pennsylvania may know as well. And he had a phrase that has stuck with me. He said, "I'm in the twilight of a mediocre career." Well, I think we have time for one more song here, and then we all fly away.
Okay, then we can fly away.
And then we will fly away.
Let's see, that's in D, all right.
Yep, indeed. Okay, we have an extra verse we're throwing in here, right? It's the one that's not on the page.
Oh, yeah, the third verse.
Yep, shackles on the feet and all that stuff.
Let's see.
Okay, we're in D on this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I tune in C and then can't read. Okay.
You
Came
need
up
up
with-
your fifth string as well? You're
I'm
good?
okay.
Okay, so I want to make sure before we start playing.
Yeah, it's worthwhile. My home, when this life is gone, I'll fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by God, I'll fly away. It's the shadows of this life that go, I'll fly away. Like a bird that prison bars has flown, I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away in the morning. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Oh, how glad and happy when we meet, I'll fly away. No more cold iron shackles on my feet, I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away in the morning. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away to a land where joys will never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Chorus one more time. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away, oh Lord. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. I said that I'll fly away. All right.
All right, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Happy Earth Day.
Yes, that's right. That's right.